Hello and welcome to the Bigger Than Us podcast. I'm your host, Raj Daniels, and today I'd like to welcome Meghna Tare to the show. Meghna Tare is UT Arlington's first Chief Sustainability Officer. Meghna works collaboratively to foster partnerships among academic, research, and operational departments at UT Arlington. She leads institutional sustainability efforts in support of the UT Arlington 2020 strategic plan, Bold Solutions Global Impact that is enabling a sustainable megacity that centers on four themes: health and the human condition, sustainable urban communities, global environmental impact, and data driven discovery. She also works to address opportunities to promote sustainability in several areas: energy efficiency, resource conservation, waste management, transportation, education, outreach, community engagement, supporting and encouraging student initiatives, and implementing an interdisciplinary and sustainability focused curriculum. Meghna, how are you doing today?
I'm doing great, Raj. Hope you're doing as well.
I am doing very well. Now, Meghna, where in the world are you?
I am based in Dallas, Texas. I live in Frisco, but work in UT Arlington.
So, we're pretty much neighbors because I'm in Carrollton. So, the weather there and the weather here is pretty much the same.
Yeah.
So, Meghna, I like to open the show by asking my guests the following question. If you were asked to share something interesting about yourself, what would it be?
Okay. Interesting about myself. I think I can share two things. One is more professional, and one that is very personal. So, professionally, I think something that's interesting and not many people know was that I was awarded the Women of the Decade in Corporate Social Responsibility by the Women Economic Forum in 2018. And I'm really, really proud of that accomplishment. And personally, something interesting about me is that I really love traveling. I, kind of look forward to my next trip. And me, my husband, and my kids, we have done quite a lot of travel in the past 2, 3 years. And I do have a running list of places that I want to visit, hopefully in the near future. But personally, also, I think, you always have an aspirational goal. And I think I want to work for the United Nations or the UNEP, United Nations Environmental Program, at some time in my career. And those who know me close know that I have that ambition. But those are the two things, personally and professionally, that's interesting about me.
That is beautiful. Can you share a little bit more information about the award?
Yes, this was in March of 2018. So the Women Economic Forum, it's a really big organization with members and kind of chapters all across the world. And they have an annual conference every year in Delhi in March. And what they do is this is simply by nomination. So people who know your work, they nominate you for this kind of award to the Women Economic Forum, and they have kind of different varieties. So they cover everything from arts to entertainment, media, business, local governments, academic, and they have a kind of different variety. And I was nominated by someone for this award that I received, for which I was, fortunate enough to have a chance, and UTA supported it to go to India in March of 2018 to receive that award, and it was quite a rewarding experience.
So, since you mentioned UTA, can you share a little bit about your current endeavor?
Yeah, so I am the Chief Sustainability Officer for UTA. It's the Office of Sustainability that I manage. It's an independent department in the sense that it is not embedded in facilities management or the provost office or student affairs, but I have my own independent department, and it's more cross collaborative and sort of offers this help to other departments on campus for sustainability initiatives, right? So I do sustainability in operations for the campus, meaning I manage the recycling program, the composting program, sustainability in the cafeteria. I engage with students in the housing and the student affairs, student government. But I also do a lot of work outside of UTA, which is more for of a collaborative nature. So I work with local governments and North Central Texas Council of Governments, and a couple of nonprofits on engaging with them on sustainability initiatives. And it could be anywhere from transportation to air quality to food security for North Texas. And besides that, I also work on incorporating sustainability in the curriculum in the academia, right? So we have a sustainability minors program on campus, which is more of an interdisciplinary program. But also, how do you engage with students using sustainability in the class? So we try to come up with the courses, interdisciplinary courses in sustainability, do some kind of research. And also, we do sort of a work where outside entities actually come to us and say, hey, we have this project in mind which is related to sustainability, and we want to see if UTA can be our partner and help us out. So I'm sort of their liaison to get these projects up and running, and at some times even implemented within their organization. So it is really a very broad role, not just operation, not just academic focus on sustainability, but really more cross collaborative and interactive.
So that's wonderful. And just for the audience, UTA is the University of Texas at Arlington.
That's right.
So, which initiatives have you helped implement at UTA?
So we have a really very successful composting program, which has been in operation for the last 10, 15 years. And it actually supports the needs of the campus in terms of, it's only for pre-consumer food waste, not post-consumer, but it serves the campus community. We have a community garden on campus, which was actually launched in collaboration with the city of Arlington. So that community garden, even though it is on the campus property, it's actually open to the city of Arlington resident, because the idea was we want to offer a space for people to come and engage and practice something that we are teaching, like community gardening. And then we have a very successful recycling program on campus. We also have a e-waste collection program, electronic waste collection program on campus. We have a very successful transportation program on campus where we offer car sharing program to our students to reduce the congestion, the need for parking, but also international students who come on campus. We offer that program so they don't feel the need that as soon as they come on campus, they have to go get a car. So we have a partnership with Zipcar, and we have like 5 to 7 cars on campus at every time, which students can rent out for a very minimal price. And then we also engage with the cafeteria to include sustainable and healthy food options, sort of also have an outreach campaign where we educate the students why it's important to not waste food. So sort of, education engagement with the students. And then we do a lot for energy efficiency, emissions inventory. We do some projects which are NSF funded on watershed management or climate change. And last year, actually, this is something that I'm very proud of. UTA launched a regional center of expertise for education in sustainable development. So we call it the RC North Texas. And UTA is the anchor institution for that. And I'm very proud to say that I spearheaded that whole initiative and launched that RCE, which is actually an initiative of the United Nations University. So the idea is you engage with all the folks in North Texas and try to bring about change by educating them on the United Nations Sustainable Development Goals, those 17 goals that United Nations adopted in 2015, and try to move sustainability in North Texas using those goals as guidelines and frameworks. So that initiative has been very successful, and we have over more than 70 stakeholders in the North Texas region who actually participate with us on that platform, and engaging with the community and doing projects and educational campaigns, and collaborating on a lot of projects, not just policy but also sustainability related projects, like how do you reduce your food waste, or how do you make sure that the Trinity River water is safe for use. So those are some of the exciting projects that's going on campus.
It sounds like a very full schedule. You
Mhm.
mentioned something there. You mentioned something called pre-consumer food waste. Can you elaborate?
So the pre-consumer food waste is, essentially the waste, the peels when you're using the vegetables in the kitchen, or the coffee grounds, or the eggshells, or the leaves that have fallen out on the campus landscape. So we just collect those. We have one person dedicated to collecting those and taking it to the compost site. We don't do the post-consumer, meaning the food that is wasted after you have consumed. For example, a student after he or she has eaten in the cafeteria, and the food that is wasted, that's the post consumer. So we don't have a facility to compost that, but just the pre consumer food waste.
Thank you for that. Now, how long have you been with UTA?
It's been 10 years now.
And has this role always existed at UTA?
No, actually, I was the first sustainability director that UTA hired in 2010. And this was a brand new position, brand new office that was created. And I have been their sustainability director since then. I've gone through two promotions, and currently I'm the chief sustainability officer.
So, 10 years ago, was it normal for a college or university to be assigning a position of a sustainability director?
No, actually, it was not. And I think I really give credit to UTA for being such a progressive and institution that actually focuses on sustainability, not in terms for operation, but also paying attention to the fact that students who actually apply to universities nowadays actually care about how sustainable the campus is, what kind of green buildings you have, what kind of food is offered in the cafeteria, do you have a trees on campus, sustainable landscape on campus. So UTA was really progressive. I mean, the composting program was started even before I came on board to the campus, and UTA actually had a president sustainability committee prior to me coming on board, where they had like a group of committed, passionate people from various departments on the campus who used to volunteer and kind of come up with proposals and ideas on how UTA can be a more sustainable campus and how do you engage with the community. So it was quite progressive at that time, and in the past 10 years I've seen a lot of universities have done that, but UTA was really forward thinking in that regards.
Do you know what made UTA so forward thinking in this regard?
I think just the people, the people on campus, they always believed in sustainability. So recycling, composting, office green team program, they had a sort of a fellowship program to help student with funds. For example, if you're having a poster session and if you have a poster that has a focus of sustainability, the sustainability committee would give out $250 in rewards to the students. So I think they were just passionate and really believed in sustainability, and which is why they kind of gathered together and said, well, we really need one person who's dedicated to this full time, not just rely on volunteer work. And, I'm really grateful to UTA for having that commitment.
Well, applause to UTA, absolutely. How have you seen things change over the past 10 years from a sustainability standpoint at the campus and other campuses?
People actually have incorporated sustainability a lot in their operation, right? So nowadays, I think it's a norm for every campus to have a really good recycling program, to have transportation options like car sharing or bike sharing, and sort of engage with this association. So there is a really big association which engages 1,200 colleges and universities across the nation, and a few in Canada and Mexico. It is a sort of a network just for academic institutions to incorporate sustainability in operations and academic, and it is called the Association for Advancement of Sustainability in Higher Education. It's called as ASHI. And nowadays almost every campus and university is actually a member of ASHI and have that direct level of communication with other campuses and universities. And it offers sort of this portal for exchange of ideas, but also if I'm a university and I'm thinking, gosh, I need to really improve my recycling program, I can actually go to the ASHI portal and post it and ask my peers at other academic institutions saying, I want to do this. Do you have an idea on how to do this or how to make this better? And that's sort of a dialogue or a discussion based interaction has just increased in the past 10 years, and people are much more engaged, and not just sustainability directors per se, but also the students. So the students are actively engaged in it, and it's very nice to see that people actually do pay attention to these things.
So prior to your role at UTA, what were you doing?
I used to work for the city of Dallas. I worked for the city of Dallas for 3 years with the Office of Environmental Quality, and I was their sustainability manager. So similar role, but it was a little bit more focused on implementation of the environmental management system, ISO 14001. So besides doing sustainability reporting and a couple of initiatives on air quality, I did a lot of training and outreach to educate the city employees about various environmental laws and regulations like the Clean Air Act, the Clean Water Act, RECRA, CERCLA, Superfund, and I did that for 3 years before I joined UTA.
So you've obviously got this passion for sustainability. The core of our conversation here is the why behind what you do. So what drives you? What's your why to be so passionate about sustainability?
Right. I think at an academic institution, you kind of have this opportunity to broaden your horizons, right? Really think critically. And, I always use this quote by Martin Luther King Jr. that the function of education is to teach one to think intensively, right? But also to think critically. And so, intelligence plus character, that is the true goal of true education. And I think that is my why behind what I do. I mean, you and I, we have kids, so we really understand the importance of how education can not just shape your future but also shape your perspective, your thinking in the long term. And I really enjoy working for an academic institution because I really do think that it gives me a chance to bring these to these students, not just undergraduate students but also graduate students who come with this kind of a passion for things, and sometimes they don't have a clear idea of where they want to go. And in the past few weeks, with the coronavirus situation, I've really realized a few things with the online learning, that education has the power to change your thinking no matter what, whether it's in person, whether it's online. And with the situation, I've been playing with my kids a couple of board games, and one of the board games is the Settlers of Catan. I don't know if you've ever played that game, but I always use that game to kind of educate people, not just students or not just kids, about how sustainability should be envisioned in this world, right? So the Catan's philosophy is that you deal with a limited amount of resources in a very sustainable and responsible way, because the resources in the game are like lumber and wheat and sheep. And it's really nice because it shows that in extreme difficulty, um, when you are prioritizing your long-term well-being and security, when there is so much pressure like we are facing in the current times, it is an essential lesson to teach to the kids how you need to conserve your resources. And I really really enjoy that, not just with my kids but the students that come at UTA. And so as a mom, as an educator for a university campus, I do really strongly feel that younger generation should be given a chance to understand the challenges of our time as early as possible, because that will shape their choices and understanding of sustainability as they grow, graduate and step into the professional world, or mature as a personally, so that they can come up with these innovative solutions and address some of the pressing problems that we have in times like these. And it can be anything from climate change or food security or transportation policies, or how do you deal with sustainable cities or smart cities. And so I really like that part of being at an academic institution and having that platform to do that. And that is why I love what I do.
But even prior to that, you were the city of Dallas with sustainability.
Mhm.
What drove you earlier in your career to, head towards sustainability? You could have done 100 different things. There's opportunity cost for being involved in it.
Mhm.
What moved you in that direction?
Um, I think my educational background, for one, I mean, I have a master's degree in environmental science, I have a master's degree in chemistry, and MBA in sustainable management. So this was always part of my academic development and academic training. And having come from born and raised in a country like India, where sustainability, environmental science was not ingrained in not just in education but in everyday life, 20, 30 years ago, I always found it interesting to pursue these. And I have seen firsthand how these things actually impact your life, not as a person, but as a professional as well. And so I think that was my drive.
That's really interesting. What were some of the impacts you saw back in India that pushed you in that direction?
Well, simple things like, you know, uh, very humble beginnings, right? So I've experienced growing up in India with no water and electricity. And this was, I've been in the US for 20, 21 years. So this was a long time ago. Things have changed now. But even at that time, I wanted to pursue a education in environmental science. And there were very few educational institutions who offered that. And luckily, I was born and raised in a place called Nagpur in India, where there was one college which offered a undergraduate degree in environmental science with a combination of environmental chemistry. And I think I find myself very fortunate to have been there at that place at that time and to get that kind of education, which changed my thinking a lot.
So you've seen your experienced your foot in both cultures.
Mhm.
What are some of the changes you think that both cultures could make to become more sustainable?
I think just in general, awareness and education is really important. And I think both the cultures have done that. And which is why I think it's very important for academic institutions to focus on sustainability as a core topic for students, just like you take all the basic courses. I think that education as a culture is really important. I can tell somebody to just recycle, or I can get somebody to pay attention to climate change, unless I explain to them the reasoning behind it, or the kind of problems that we'll face in the next 30 years if we don't pay attention to this. And I think that is a culture change. Everybody needs to pay attention to sustainability as a behavior change. It has to come naturally, not something that is forced upon you. Because I always realize that when you kind of, scare somebody into believing something or doing something, once that fear has gone away, then people come back to their, again, the original way of life. And I don't think that's the way to do it. And I do credit all the, ISDs nowadays. I think my kids are much more educated about sustainability and recycling and composting and energy than I was growing up. So that culture change has surely happened. And I think that's great.
Speaking of education, you mentioned the curriculum earlier at UTA.
Mhm.
What are some of the classes or some of the subjects that are taught in the curriculum of sustainability?
So we have a sustainability minor, which is more of an interdisciplinary program, and I myself teach a class in sustainability, which is called Topics in Sustainability, which is an undergraduate class offered through the Department of Science. So what I do is, I start with the basics of sustainability and the fact that sustainability is more of a, you have to have a systems thinking approach to it, right? It's everything is part of the puzzle and they have to fit together at the end of it. So I go through the basics of sustainability, then I talk about all the issues from water sustainability, food sustainability, transportation, sustainable communities, environmental justice, sustainability frameworks that various organizations actually use for their sustainability planning and strategy. And then I focus a lot on sustainable development goals, the UN sustainable development goals, because I think students really relate to it, to see how what they do fits into the bigger puzzle of how the world is tackling this problem. And then we have classes that are offered through the College of Engineering. We have actually a minor, sustainability in minor, which is offered through the College of Engineering. And the College of Business does some courses. Even the School of Social Works offers a course which has a little bit of focus on environmental justice.
I really appreciate you sharing that. Meghna, one of the questions I like to ask before we go is if you could share some advice or words of wisdom with the audience, what would it be?
Um, so, I talked about interacting with these students a lot and with kids a lot. I work with the K through 12 to some extent. And I always believe that you really have to be true to yourself. You cannot fake it, right? So I always believe that leadership, be it can be me or anybody else in any organization. It really rides on the success wheels of authenticity, right? If you're not authentic, you cannot communicate your vision and value that will, in a way, shout that I really care about this. And I truly believe that when you blend those values with your unique goals and ambitions, and certainly qualities like empathy in the current times, I think that people find it very motivating and inspiring. And personally, to me, leadership lives at that intersection of that spark and values. And that is what gets the buy in from people. So you really have to be authentic. You really have to convey your passion in a very clear form with empathy, but you really have to be true to yourself.
I really appreciate you sharing that. It's been a
Mhm.
wonderful conversation. Is there anything we have not explored that you'd like to talk about or share before we go?
No, I just wanted to, since this is a podcast, if you can share some information about the Regional Center of Expertise for Education in Sustainable Development that we have formed on campus. We are really looking, for more stakeholder, more engagement from, private sector, public sector, nonprofit, because our goal is to sort of advance the whole of North Texas in a sustainable manner. So if you can share that information, it would really help me bring in more collaborators and partners to this platform. And that is what we are trying to look for.
Absolutely. Send me the links and I'll put them in the show notes for sure.
Okay, that would be great. Thank you, Raj.
Thank you, Meghna. It's been great talking to you.
Thank you so much. Bye bye.
Thank you for listening. And if you like what you heard, please give us a rating and review at Apple Podcast. Bigger Than Us is a Nexus PMG production. And if you want to show your support and help us grow, please share with a friend or reach out to us on social media, where you'll find us under our Nexus PMG handle.